they had just indicted somebody for buying a mini submarine. Was it in Houston area?
Oh, Lord.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, people do crazy stuff.
That sounds like the Air Force.
It was, I'm just going, what in the world would you do something stupid?
What do you think?
It's hilarious. Okay, let's go on and get started on the next piece of this. Okay, we talked about, at the beginning, we talked about the first piece of the step of this three-step model. The first part of it was preparing ourselves, okay? We're trying to get ourselves mentally prepared. We're trying to get to a point where we sort of have focused on a goal, or at least focused on a subject that we want to try to have a conversation with. And we're trying to prepare the other person as well, right? We're doing that by making sure that possibly the other person knows about the subject matter we're talking about. We've got it in an environment that's conducive to having a good conversation. It's that shared understanding, that shared conversation we're going to have. Okay, the second step we're going to go into, we're going to talk a little bit about, now I want to send the message, okay? I want to actually share this information. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the techniques that that are involved in sharing the information. First thing it talks about is being assertive, and I think we kind of have to caveat that to mean that it kind of depends on the conversation, doesn't it? I want to be assertive enough to where the person understands that I'm confident in what I'm saying. I'm confident in the information that I know, even if my knowledge isn't that extensive on the information. I want to be assertive enough to send a message to the recipient that yes, this person is confident in what they're saying. So I kind of want to be assertive to a certain point. You know, if I'm trying to gather information about something, you know, and I ask Lynn to explain something to me, I want to be somewhat passive in that I want a lot of information and I want her to give me that information. So you have to sort of kind of put that in context. I want to use this direct language. You talk about being sort of short and to the point and concise. You know, when we don't muddle the conversation, it makes it a lot clearer. It makes it a lot more easy for the person to understand. I want to use a calm, non-critical tone of voice. We'll talk about it in a little while, but tone of voice is a big deal. When we're communicating with folks, body language is a big deal, and so is tone of voice. The tone of voice that I'm using with John may make a big difference in how much of the information that he processes. And I want to try to use a tone of voice conducive to John understanding what I'm saying, okay? Using I statements, and what they're talking about here is sometimes I may have to sort of reframe the conversation. You know, if Nadine says something to me, I may turn and say to Nadine, let me see if I understand what you're saying, or I've interpreted what you're saying is this way. It's sort of a reframing technique. We don't specifically talk about reframing in this course, but it is a technique where you can sort of reframe the conversation. Let's say the conversation is getting off on a tangent somewhere. You can reframe it by kind of using these I statements and saying, okay, I don't think we're really talking about what we should be talking about. Let's get back into this, the main point, or the main topic that we originally discussed. Okay, using factual descriptions, details to clarify your point. It's always nice, and this comes into that planning part. It's always really good if I'm talking about something and I can back it up with facts, right? I can say, okay, the reason that I feel this way about this particular thing is because this, and this has happened in the past, and sort of give some examples. So that's another way to really send a message, a clear message. And then be repetitive. And again, I kind of put a caveat on that in terms of, you know, where you want to use repetition to a certain point, because repeating yourself over and over and over again is really not what we're talking about. It's being repetitive enough to where, you know what I'm talking about? Repetitive enough to where the person understands it. We've got a priest back at the parish I used to be back in North Texas when we lived, and he's a good guy, and I really like him, and we sort of like his homilies and stuff like that. But he has a tendency to just keep repeating everything. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, just give me one sermon. I don't need 10 of them. You know, I don't need the same thing over and over and over again. So, you know, all I need to hear it is one time, maybe twice to reinforce it. I don't need it 10 times. So, but anyway, we joke about that, but it's true. Okay, I'd like for you to now go to the page in your book. this would be page 13 in your study guide or your persistence guide. And does it have a little block on there about the messages that you can fill out? Yes.
Yep.
I want you to do that right there. It gives you some statements, okay? And for example, it says you're wrong. How could I reframe that or restate that in a way that would be, telling the person that they're wrong, but a better way of saying that, using an I statement or reframing that statement. I'll give you a few seconds to do that.